Anna, District 3 Outreach Coordinator for Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski Jr.'s Office of Community Engagement. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you here for our 6th Budget Town Hall Series. Government works best when our residents drive the conversation, and our signature Town Hall Series continues on those efforts to create a more open, accessible, responsive government. We keep building a better Baltimore County together by bringing you to participate in our county's budget process. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Gary Brewster, Chairman of the Board of the Maryland State Fair and Agricultural Society.
Thank you, Carmen. Good evening. County Executive Olszewski, Councilman Catch, other distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Brewster, and I'm delighted to welcome all of you here this evening to the home of your Maryland State Fair. The Maryland State Fair is a volunteer-led 501c3 nonprofit, and we're honored to have you here for this very important town hall meeting. In thinking about this evening's introduction and welcoming, I thought about the three of us and three things that the three of us have in common. We were all Baltimore County public school teachers. We all served in the legislature, and we're all tall. The Maryland State Fair has been at this location since 1878, when York Road was but a dirt trail that only had horses and wagons. Today, we have a sprawling campus with some 40 buildings and 2 million people a year on campus, providing enormous opportunities and economic impact for Baltimore County. This very building alone generates $50 million a year in horse sales alone in this very building, 50 million, with buyers and sellers coming from all over the world. Also on the campus, during the pandemic, under the leadership of the Olszewski administration, we offered coronavirus testing and vaccinations, Red Cross blood drives, food distribution for the needy, emergency staging, and care for animals if the farmers got sick. This collective effort in partnership with Baltimore County led to the fairgrounds winning a national award in partnership with Baltimore County as the best site in the United States for a coordinated approach to combating the coronavirus pandemic. Congratulations, Baltimore County. None of this would have been possible without the great team that we have here in Baltimore County, from the leadership to every one of you here tonight. I especially want to thank our leadership at the Maryland State Fair, and sometimes the unsung heroes that get things done in the scenes. Let's thank our Chief of Facilities, Chief Denmeyer, right there. In conclusion, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support of the Maryland State Fair, for your participation in democracy. It has truly been a team effort, and the successes we're enjoying would not be possible were it not for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Maryland State Fair. Thank you.
Tonight, we continue with fiscal year 2024's budget discussions in District 3, hosted by your County Executive, John Olszewski Jr., and your Councilor Member, Wade Catch. After the County Executive's budget presentation, you will have an opportunity to share your budget-related priority within the allotted time of 2 minutes at one of the designated microphones that will be located in the front of the auditorium. The County Executive, the appropriate department head, or Councilman Catch will address your inquiries, concerns, and ideas. We will need to be out of the building by 9 p.m. this evening, and we would love to hear from as many of you as possible, so we ask that your comments remain brief and in the allotted time. If we are unable to get to your question tonight, we will have a coordinator from the Community Engagement Office follow up with you. Now, without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to welcome your Councilman, Wade Catch.
I want to thank you very much, Carmen. And if you have any problems, call Carmen. How's that sound? And any problems, call her. And that way, my staff won't, they won't have anything to do. Speaking of my staff, Ryan Freed's here, if you'd stand up. Joanne Kozak. Roger Yeager. Last but not least, my wife, Evelyn. She puts up with me, and that's not easy at all. I plan to give the county executive my list of requests. It's rather long, but let me just say that the list that I gave him 4 years ago is just about complete. But I've only given him 2 years to do this list. And, I'm serious, you have 2 years, that's it. I know your family. Know your family. Yeah, I just want to make a couple of quick remarks. First of all, many of you have contacted me regarding crime in Baltimore County. And, I'm happy to say that the 3rd District is the safest district in Baltimore County. We are the safest. But we have to be vigilant. And, I'm concerned about the 3rd District and all of the county. So I have a proposal, and Ryan, who's sitting right there, has about 40 copies of what it is I'm going to give the county executive, because the county wouldn't let him make more than 40 copies. Did you want me to pay for them? I know, okay. But you can go online, and it's underwaycatcher.com. Okay, good. But he has some if you'd like to see it. The first issue is we have vacancies in our police department, and it's imperative that we fill those vacancies ASAP with officers who are dedicated, obviously qualified, and effective in the job they do. And Johnny, I am suggesting that Baltimore County offer a salary scale for our police and our firemen that exceeds all the subdivisions within 200 miles of Baltimore County. Because, crime is something, the effects of it can be so damaging to communities, and so we got to take that very seriously. The second thing that I want to talk about are our schools, and I see blue shirts. What school is that? Pardonia International. Very good, very good. Well, anyhow, I was very upset. I don't know if you've seen the academic test scores for our Baltimore County schools. They're terrible. They are terrible. And Michelle Guyton just walked in. And the scores are terrible. And it's because of COVID and other reasons. When you have schools where there's violence, school buses where there's violence, I was a school teacher. Johnny was, my wife Evelyn was, so we know what it's like to teach school. And what I would like the county executive to do is to work with our school system and school board to offer as soon as possible remedial help for all our students who are not performing at grade level. And I think we ought to pull all the stops out. If we need to go to Huntington Learning Center and get them, or parent volunteers, etc. Because the thing that concerns me, I don't want teachers to be even more burdened than they already are. That is, when we were in the state legislature, bills would pass, you know, teachers should do this, teachers should do that. And I kept saying, well, yeah, I know it'll only take 10, 15 minutes, but it adds on and on and on and on. And the amount of work that teachers have to do is really unbelievable, plus putting up with other issues. So, Mr. County Executive, I'll give you 2 weeks to get all that into a month? No problem. That's for everything for this district. I'm talking about our immediate problems. So, Sonia, I thank you all very much for coming tonight. And, you know, the crime issue and the education issue is something that we absolutely need to resolve ASAP. Thank you. Should I introduce the county executive? Okay. It's my honor, pleasure to introduce the county executive who I sat next to in the House of Delegates for 8 years. He was knew nothing. I don't know if he knows any, well, anyhow. He's a bit misguided on some issues. When I mention that, he doesn't say anything. It's really strange. I don't get it. But in all seriousness, he is a great individual. He's a people person. He cares about each and every citizen in Baltimore County. And, you know, I will admit, I voted for him both elections, and I'm not ashamed of it all because I know him, he's a good person. And so, without any further ado, County Executive John Olszewski, Jr.
Thank you, Councilman, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time and for your presence tonight. This is your night, so I will try to be as prompt as I can in delivering the overview of our current budget and our current state of affairs in Baltimore County before turning the microphones over to all of you. I think this is a tremendous turnout. It's larger than I think our last time here. It is wonderful to be back at our Maryland State Fair and truly appreciate the partnership we've had with the leadership here. So thank you all so much. Speaking of partnership, I want to thank Councilman Catch for his partnership. Even when he tells me that I'm misguided, I was taught to respect your elders and to just smile. And I will say that you all have a tenacious advocate with a servant's heart here in this district, and it is my honor and privilege to serve alongside Wade. I don't know, for those of you who were here at the last time, I think it was the first year of the term, we did our town hall, the first town hall. It was one of those like lists that unfurled and rolled on the floor. And I don't know that it was entirely full, but it wouldn't be an exaggeration that Councilman Catch had a long list. Because candidly, District 3 and far too many of our communities have been left behind. And we're proud that in partnership with all of you these past 4 years, working with our partners at the state, like Delegate Guyton and others, we've been able to really drive a lot of progress. That's not to say that we're done or that we don't have more to do, but I think the fact that we've been so connected and engaged has allowed us to drive that progress. So let's talk about what we've done together. We've put in ethics reform to strengthen accountability. We've created and expanded every year the Office of the Inspector General, something that didn't exist before in Baltimore County. We now have public financing of elections, which will start next election cycle to have more diverse candidate pools and people to be able to run without having to worry about who's funding their campaigns. We've created the Office of Community Engagement, and I want to thank Carmen Christiana for being a good district representative here in District 3. And Mandy Remmel is our director of the office. And we've stood up the county's first ever 311 service. Working together, we've created BC Stat, which is our data-driven governance program where we are now using data to help inform our decision-making. BC Stat is also the program that has stood up any number of dashboards, some of which we'll talk about tonight. We've stood up our first open budget platform where now you can see down to the check where your dollars as county taxpayers are going each and every budget cycle. And of course, we've created this town hall budget series where we have engaged thousands of residents in the budget process. And it's a testament to our communities who have stepped up to have their voices heard. And it's a stark contrast to just a few years prior to our election, where in the 2 years prior to our administration, there were two people total who testified on the county's $4+ billion budget. I do want to thank the many county leaders. You have all of our department heads and their deputies. You have our administrative officer, Stacey Rogers, who are here to answer questions, to go to their tables. We want to make sure that we are being engaged and responsive. Together, we closed an inherited $81 million structural deficit. As Mr. Brewster said, we helped deliver both here and across the county what was hailed as one of the best responses to the worst public health crisis of our lives. And we've made together record investments in education, public safety, and other core infrastructure. So I mentioned we have an over $4 billion budget. This is every year. These are the operating costs. These are the people. These are the policies. These are the programs that really serve our 860,000 residents across Baltimore County. In terms of funding it, you'll see that the bulk of it comes from real and income taxes. There's a significant amount of state aid. There's some federal support. There's a chunk that comes in from fees and other revenues. And then where it goes, we spend over half of our budget both on our people and on education. Education, that bucket of 55% includes both BCPS, our library system, as well as our community college. BCPS alone, we'll talk about that, gets over $2 billion annually of that budget. After education, we spend appropriately. The largest sums go to public safety, $470 million in the current budget, as well as investments in public health, recreation, public works, et cetera. In addition to those operating dollars every year, we also have a capital budget, which over the several years is projected to be over $3 billion of investment. That is funded primarily by two things. First is our water and sewer fees through the Metro District, and about half of the funding comes from that. It also goes appropriately to the water and sewer system. The other bulk of the money comes from general obligation bonds. These are the bonds that you all vote for this past November that were on the ballot, borrowing ordinances, and that goes towards largely our schools, but then also to our operational buildings, our parks, our police and fire stations, et cetera. In addition to the borrowing, we also do what's called pay-as-you-go or pay-go capital. These are one-time additional infusions that we put into the budget to help fund some of these capital construction costs. Every year, Councilman Catch and his colleagues on the council give to us a spending affordability report. The Spending Affordability Committee basically says on the operating budget, based on the growth of the county, the economy, where we stand in a budget from a budgetary perspective, administration, you may grow the budget from an operational perspective by this amount. Once we have that amount from the county council, we then turn to our departments and give them initial targets to really make sure that we are staying within those spending affordability guidelines. So for context, in the current budget that we're in, the fiscal 23 budget, it was a 4.7% growth factor on the operational budget. That's $107 million. Now that seems like a lot of money until you start peeling it back and understanding where that money goes. So in this year's current budget, almost half of that increase was put in towards salary for our hardworking county employees. In addition, we have about 25% that have gone towards things like OPEB, which is our retiree healthcare fund. That was, if you were here in the first year, you learned that was completely raided and emptied. And we're almost now back at pay-as-you-go or sustaining that fund for the future. We had 17% in required increases. Cost of gas has gone up, electricity, insurance, et cetera. And then we had 13% of that funding went towards new programs or new policies. So let's dive into that 13%, because some of that came from these town halls. In this year's budget, we stood up those reforestry divisions within the Department of environmental protection and sustainability. Director Likens and his team is here. We added a green infrastructure division to think about infrastructure differently in the Department of Public Works and Transportation. I see Director Walker and her team here. We added a second set of turnout gear for our volunteer firefighters who had the highest response rates and to keep them safe. So Chief Rund and her team have been pushing public safety and frankly safety and health and well-being for our firefighters and our first responders. We funded an expansion of county ride service, additional hours and Saturday service. Director Walker and her team again are leading that. And working with our school system partners, and I believe Dr. McComas is here representing BCPS or with BCPS. We put forward additional teachers, counselors, support staff, and school resource officers in addition to those salary increases. So that was where that small amount of additional cost. Speaking of education, the current budget is, as I mentioned, over $2 billion. This year, we have an over $70 million increase over what's called maintenance of effort, or the level by which we're required to fund by law. We can't go backwards in our funding. The state says you have to maintain at least a level amount of funding. We took that level amount and we added $70 million above what would be our enrollment-based maintenance of effort. That's an increase of $91 million total from the prior year. Unfortunately, we've seen a decrease of about 4,000 students during the pandemic, and we have not had those numbers return yet, but we're hoping that we can continue to invest despite those losses. We want to keep doing more, but we're very proud that in Baltimore County over the past 4 years, we've gone from being middle of the pack in terms of teacher salary to among the highest, particularly around things like starting salary. We have hired those 300 additional staff persons over the past 4 years, and we had an agreement to do some mid-year increases last year. Again, really proud of what we've done, the progress we've made. We want to keep doing more, and we thank our teachers for their efforts. I mentioned the enrollment numbers. What I've committed in terms of the budgeting process for the next 4 years as a baseline, as a minimum, is that maintenance of effort number. We will do at least $10 million more above maintenance of effort every year for the next 4 years. Now, there's some uncertainty about the economy, but I think it's important that we know that we're going to sustain those investments in education moving forward. In addition to the operating costs and investments in education, we've also stepped up in a big way on capital for schools. We have what's called the Multi-Year Improvement Plan for All Schools, or MyIPass. It is now a $3+ billion plan to touch every school across Baltimore County over the next 14 years. When you peel that back, it means millions of dollars of investments in things like school safety and security. It means investing in STEAM or STEM education, CTE, and it means expanding pre-K for over 8,000 of Baltimore County's youngest learners. For District 3, it means that we are moving forward to build a new Delaney High School. It means things like renovations and new roofs and playground replacements. It means maintenance upgrades at Pinewood, Carroll Manor, Cockeysville Middle, Ridgely Middle, Hereford High School. And it means that by the time this plan is fully implemented, no child will have to learn in a learning cottage or a trailer. So we're really excited about what these investments mean. We know also that education doesn't stop in pre-K-12, so we've invested significantly in our community college partnerships. Together, we've been able to freeze in-county tuition for our residents for all 4 of the last years. We've also expanded our College Promise program, going almost a 10 times increase from about 100 students to over 900 these past 4 years, making college more attainable for Baltimore County residents. We've listened through these town halls. One of the best things that we heard from our residents was the desire to see bulk trash pickup returned. We're proud to have instituted that. In the first year, we've collected almost 2,000 tons of trash from almost 70,000 homes. So that's been really successful. Congratulations, Director Walker, for your team's efforts on that. We heard about the need to revamp and build up code enforcement. So we've hired 5 additional code enforcement officers in prior years. We've instituted escalating penalties, and so Director Gutwald, you and your team have done great work. We're now being more proactive in our attention to, in partnership with communities, actually seeing our numbers through BC Stat. We're actually seeing the number of complaints going down because of that proactive, more engaged work that we're doing. We've put forward over $80 million for things like road resurfacing and traffic calming across all of Baltimore County. We're supporting our seniors, launching age-friendly Baltimore County, No Senior Eats Alone Day. We've created the Because program with the Weinberg Foundation, helping our seniors to age in place and have needed home repairs. We've had millions of dollars for senior centers countywide, including funding to build a new North County Senior Center. We've acquired the land for that and are moving forward with planning and design. And we remain committed to moving forward on plans to identify and build a new Jacksonville Senior Center. We've also put forward significant investments from Lock Raven to Pretty Boy, water infrastructure projects, rehab of the Warren Road Bridge, replacement bridges at Patterson and Stapleton Roads, and then millions of dollars in our commitment to expand broadband access. We're really proud of the work we've done on broadband, especially in North County. We have an application before the state of Maryland currently. If awarded and matched with local dollars and with Comcast dollars, we will have over 99% of Baltimore County connected to the internet, which is, I think, a huge accomplishment this past 4 years. The councilman mentioned public safety. We want to thank the men and women of both our police department and our fire department for the work that they do. Just last year alone, we saw a 36% decrease in homicides across Baltimore County. So District 3, congratulations, you are the safest district in a very safe county. And to have that kind of decline in a moment where my colleagues across the country, not just here across the state, but we saw upticks in violent crime across all of the state and all of this country. So I think it's a real testament of the work of our police department. It's also, I think, a testament to some of the upstream investments we've been making. Our clearance rate remains significantly above the national average, and we've invested tens of millions of dollars more in public safety these last couple of years. In terms of the upstream investments, some of the other things we've done is we've expanded our mobile crisis team, where we have clinicians who are mental health providers partnered with law enforcement to respond to calls. We've also put a clinician in our 911 center so that when calls are coming in, we can better divert those calls and have better responses to people who are facing crisis and trauma in a way that helps make it better for everyone. We haven't forgotten, of course, about other investments, rec and parks, workforce development, summer youth programs. These are all upstream investments that matter. This year's budget alone has over $45 million set aside for rec and parks. That means, for District 3, that means a new Belfast Park. It means improvements at County Home, Cromwell Valley, and Sparks Park. It means $10 million set aside for renovations and trail repairs at Oregon Ridge Park, which is about to finalize a master plan. All right. It means a new deer fence at our Ag Center, and again, like, these are the kinds of investments that we're very proud to have made. For agricultural and land preservation, in Baltimore County, we have now preserved over 70,000 acres. And we recently hired a new ag business development specialist, really trying to be more intentional about our partnership and our engagement with the ag community. The sign you see on this slide is actually what we're offering to those who have engaged in our ag and land preservation program, so that they can tout to the public. We can start sharing that message about we have this incredible preservation work happening across Baltimore County. On sustainability, we've stood up Operation Retree. We're going into those communities that have not been given the attention they deserve and have been under-treed. In addition to that program, we have 1,000 trees throughout our communities that we're doing, street trees, et cetera, which is why we expanded our division in depths. We brought back a program that was stopped back in 2013 to recycle glass. We are now at our landfill capturing methane that was being released just into the atmosphere to repurpose it towards energy use and consumption. I'm going to thank the councilman for his work on the Bring Your Own Bag legislation. Hard to believe there are over 1 million single-use plastic bags every day that were going into our waterways, into our trees, and polluting, frankly, our recycling system on our sorter in Baltimore County. We also have solar panels and other work on the environment. That's all where we've been. A couple of my priorities in terms of where we're going. First and foremost is Housing, we had a legislative package that was recently before the council that did several things. It created a housing opportunities fund to create more attainable quality housing. It created the first definition of a vacant structure so that we can identify vacant housing, go in, address them, and also create more opportunities for home ownership and to address the blight that vacant houses cause. We updated our housing construction policies, and we now have passed legislation so that more family members and seniors are able to live together and age in place. We're also focusing on workforce, building a stronger workforce and breaking down barriers for opportunities. One example of the kinds of work we hope to do in the years ahead is in partnership with St. Joe and our community college, where we are taking some of our most vulnerable residents in Baltimore County and giving them guaranteed work all the way up to being a licensed practicing nurse, an LPN at St. Joe's here in Baltimore County. This is the kind of investment that really makes a difference in a family's life. These are family-sustaining jobs, and so we're proud to break down those barriers around transportation and childcare and the cost of tuition. And then finally, investing in our infrastructure. I mentioned earlier we have billions of dollars set aside already in our schools, in our parks, in our fire stations, and our police stations. We want to deliver these projects for all of our communities, and really that ties into tonight. It's why we want to hear from you, especially around a lot of these capital projects. We know that they are critically important on top of any of the operating concerns that you all might want to raise. On capital, we're proud that we have launched an agreement with the city. Baltimore County pays for half of all of our water and wastewater infrastructure, but we currently have no oversight or input into that system. We have a task force proposed with the city to look at everything from governance to capital planning. It's an agreement that is older than the mayor and myself. It dates back to 1972. We don't use technology from 1972. We've updated our practices and policies, so we're hopeful that this task force will help us update how we tackle our water and wastewater. Before we open the mics, just a quick overview of the timeline. This is the next to the last town hall, as Carmen mentioned. So we're looking forward to your response tonight. I deliver the formal budget submission to Councilman Catch on April 13th. They review it. They have to approve it by the end of May. And then we're looking forward to that discussion. We are going to pass out some cards. So if you have your phones and can scan the QR code, we also will put it up on here, although it might be harder to scan on stage. We are introducing a new element to the town hall where we want to live poll everyone. So even if you don't have a chance to testify, or if you're part of a larger group testifying tonight, we're going to just ask 4 or 5 questions of you all and share in real time the responses. So once you scan the QR code on your phone, you can also pass that along to someone else who hasn't seen it. And then the first question is pretty straightforward. It's just, how many town halls have you attended since we started this series? Have you been to, is this your first? Or have you been to all 5? Some number in between. Councilman, you've been to 5. That's true. Councilman put in a piece of legislation that requires, I believe, at least 3 town halls or budget hearings throughout the county before the submission. And so even if, the hope is, I hope that the next person who has this role does all 7, but they'll be required by law to do at least 3. Yeah. A lot of first-time participants, which we love to see. Thank you all, if this is your first time, for joining us tonight. We'll give it just another second or two, because I know folks are still logging on. The passcode is THYF1Y. THYF1Y. I think think this is the largest, let's give all of our first-timers a round of applause, actually. I think this is the largest first-time crowd that we've seen so far this year. All right, next question. When it comes to the core needs of the county, I would say Baltimore County is investing too little, just about the right amount, or too much. This one's fun because it feels like a horse race. Appreciate the reference, right? And don't worry, you can say any of them. This is totally anonymous. Totally anonymous. So we're at about 57%, just about the right, and 37% too little, 5% too much. Okay. We'll go to the next question. My top 3 budget priorities are, there's a whole host of things from schools to rec to ag preservation, road resurfacing, public safety, housing, workforce. I think on this one you can vote for up to 3. And while this is anonymous, Dr. Branch, I know you keep voting for health, so, but this is anonymous. We are also collecting this data as part of the engagement process, and we will review these as well, in addition to what you all have to say tonight. Schools are clearly up top with public safety and rec facilities and green space and ag preservation. Okay. Simple question, yes, no, have you used 311? So in addition to 311, which you can call anytime for a service request, a question about your tax bill, to report a pothole, to lodge a code enforcement complaint, you can use 311. You can also, since we're already on our smartphones, you can also download the Baltco Go app and do the same thing on your smartphone. Okay. Is that it, Mandy? Okay, cool. So that's it for the formal part of the show. We will now turn things over to you. If you, in addition to us following up with anyone who doesn't get to testify, please also email your ideas and thoughts to us. And so we will start, turn things over to Mandy, and who will run us through here. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Mr. County Executive. All right, so we are going to move the microphones to these 2 rows here. We do ask that we have a lot of speakers that are speaking tonight, so it's going to be these 2 rows here in the front. The microphones, Kirk, the mic is right here to the side. If you can grab that for us. Thank you. So if you are here to testify tonight, again, we have a time clock up here at the front. We ask that you please keep your comments brief and within those allotted 2 minutes. We do ask that if you are here with a group tonight, we see a lot of representation with our groups, and we'd love to see that, but we ask that you do have a designated spokesperson, and then when that spokesperson comes up to speak, please feel free to get up, in solidarity and stand up and wave your posters if you have them. We'll make sure that we count you as well in that budget priority. If you have already heard your budget priority shared this evening, we ask that you please make a brief statement stating why you feel in support of that project as well, and then pass the mic to the next person behind you. And with that, just a reminder, we do have to be out of here by 9 o'clock. There are a lot of you, which is beautiful. We love to see that. So again, just please be mindful to your neighbor behind you, and end your comment when the time buzzes. Thank you so much. Yes, I'll give you this mic. Perfect. All right, we can go ahead and start. Here you go.
Good evening. I'm Patty Schindler, President of the recently approved Baltimore County Horse Council. We are a county-wide nature council based out of the Ag Center. Our mission is to promote awareness of the horse industry through a variety of education and horsemanship opportunities. Thank you, Mr. County Executive and the Department of Rec and Parks for their support of our programs. A shout out to the staff at the Ag Center who have been very knowledgeable and helpful. We'd like to respectfully ask that a tractor shed be built at the Ag Center to secure and protect the tractors and equipment from the elements. Also, we'd like to request a shade sail to cover a portion of the large bleachers and mobile generator run lights for our evening events. Permanent lights are restricted by covenants in place. Supported by the local business community, we have raised approximately $75,000 for horse jumps, storage wagons, temporary fencing, and judges' booths. We've hosted 8 Friday night lights where equine professionals demonstrate their specific horse discipline, and approximately 1,500 people have attended. On one of the nights, we partnered with Pathfinders for Autism to share the special beauty of horses with these special families. It's a fact, horses are good for mental health and individuals with special needs. Horse shows, trail rides, and used riding equipment sales have been held to support the equine community with 10 events already scheduled for this summer. Many riders use the arena for training their horses on a weekly basis. There are more horses in Baltimore County than any other county in Maryland. We have 20,000 horse-related acres, 1,500 stables, and 9,000 horses. Horses support local agriculture through what they eat and what they sleep on. Values of these horses is approximately $100 million and brings to the county 2,500 jobs. $13 million has been spent on horse-related activities, and $1 billion has been spent on horse-related assets, including tractors, horse trailers, trucks, and farm equipment. According to the Maryland Horse Industry Board, recreational horseback riding is up 10% post-pandemic. Thank you for your consideration, and we hope we get included in the county budget.
Thanks,
Thank
Mandy.
you.
Appreciate it.
Hi. My name is Jenny Torres, and I'm the community school facilitator at Padonia International Elementary, which is just 5 minutes down the road off York Road. It's a school that's built for 300 students, and currently we have about 580 students enrolled. We are also a community school, which is a very unique title given to schools who have received additional funding to provide wraparound services and programming for non-academic needs. And the reason that we are a community school is because we have a high concentration of poverty in our school. About 70% of our students experience poverty, and about 80% of our students are from communities of color. I'm emphasizing this because our school community looks very different from the broader Cockeysville community, and we experience a very different life than many folks in this room. They are often overlooked and unheard from, and it is because they experience poverty that it makes them difficult for them to attend community events like this town hall. I'm talking about Shirley Gutierrez, who's a mother of 4, struggling to find a job that allows her to take care of her children, but still manages to be involved in her son's schooling. Miss Donise Clifton, who has a student with a disability and couldn't be here because of work, but wants to see more family recreation programs tailored for students with disability. Or Miss Ebony Love, who is dealing with a sick child today and couldn't make it, but cares about funding for public school buses so that she doesn't have to stress about another change in her child's school bus route. So I'm not here specifically to advocate for BCPS issues. No, I'm here because as a community schools, our concerns are much broader. We at Padonia are concerned about the lack of affordable housing, the lack of accessible recreation program for our families, lack of affordable childcare, of accessible public transportation, and accessible health resources. So as a result, I don't have a specific ask for you all, but an invitation to come to our school, to meet our families on our turf, and hear from them what it's like to live in Cockeysville. Thank you.
Jenny, thank you.
Good evening. My name.
And I'll be there. We'll set it up.
And also, I've been in the school and also to the PAL Center, which I think does offer a tremendous number of programs for the people in the Cockeysville area. And, if I'd be glad to make another visit. By the way, everyone, in addition to that school, opened, about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and it's already overcrowded. So, it's a real issue that we've got to resolve. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robin Campbell, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to speak tonight. The dismal performance of Baltimore County Public Schools in the Maryland Public School Report Card released last week is a wake-up call. Our new Board of Education and the prospect of a new superintendent offer some hope for improvement, but it is time for the County Council and the County Executive to do their part by solving the problem of school overcrowding. In 2020, an independent government study found that Baltimore County has the state's least effective rules for managing the pace of new development. However, county officials failed to act on the APFO task force's reasonable recommendations, so new housing continues to be built beyond what existing schools and classrooms can handle. Similarly, Baltimore County's response to 2019 state legislation authorizing impact fees on new home construction to help pay for necessary infrastructure, including additional classrooms to accommodate more children, was written with so many exemptions and loopholes that no meaningful funds were expected to be generated. The chronic neglect has forced school officials to manage classroom sizes with the only tool at their disposal, profoundly disruptive, wildly inaccurate, and deeply unpopular boundary studies. 3 years ago, for example, a boundary study promised to send 100 children to Hampton Elementary School from Pleasant Plains Elementary, which was then severely overcrowded. Now Hampton is severely overcrowded with more than 300 additional students, placing it at 121% of capacity. Another boundary study involving 11 middle schools is going on right now and promises to be even more disruptive and inaccurate. Every boundary study represents the county's failure to plan and manage development. As county leaders, you have the power to protect and restore public education by enacting the recommendations of the APFO task force and by placing meaningful fees on real estate development. I also implore you to take immediate action to remedy the overcrowding at Hampton Elementary without resorting to dangerous, wasteful trailers. These are easy, common sense, and politically popular ways to ensure that children attending Baltimore County Public Schools have the space they need to learn and prosper. Thank you.
Let me say that with the Hampton Elementary situation, I am totally disgusted with what happened there. When the proposed plans came out, I worked on it and proposed an alternate plan which would not have had the result that we have today. But to be honest with you, the school board at the time, when I made the presentation, I might have well talked to the wall. That's how responsive they were. Now we have a new school board elected, and I'm optimistic that they're going to listen. And I'm also working with the groups involved in the middle school redistricting, because this is a very, middle schools, I taught middle school, my wife taught middle school, you were high school, right? Yeah, you don't have the temperament for the middle school kids. So anyhow, middle school is a very difficult age, as some of you in here will agree with. And so what happens with this redistricting is going to have long-term effects on students. I was at a school that closed. All the students were forced to go to other middle schools. And this was like 25 years ago. And I still meet students today who say, oh, I ended up going to this school and I hated it. And it was a terrible experience. And we don't want that to happen. And I'm going to work on this issue and support the groups that are offering sensible alternatives. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Niraj. I'm from Padonia Elementary Schools. I wish at Padonia Elementary Schools, at the end of school, after like 4:40, they would do like robotics, art class, like those stuff. So we could have more experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Niraj. Yeah. So are you into robotics? Are you into robotics? Yeah? Yeah, we should definitely look at more after-school programming opportunities, for sure. Thank you so much. Great job.
Hi, my name is Lucy Rupke, and I'm here to ask two requests of the councilman and the county executive. The first request is for approving speed cameras in residential areas outside of school districts or outside of school zones, I should say, and to approve the budget for those and install them because we really need them in the county, particularly in the Glenarm area. There's a lot of traffic in that area now, more so within the last 5 years, and the speeding has gotten out of hand. It's really hard to drive in that area right now. I believe that there's a lot of people cutting through that area to get to Towson and to Cockeysville, and they're not from our area. They're from other areas that are coming through. So that would be the first request. The second request is a traffic studies to be done in the area, because I don't think this only solution would be the traffic cameras or speed cameras. It would also include monitoring the traffic to find out where everyone is going and putting some other speed calming things in place so that you don't have to just rely on the cameras, because everybody will know where they are once you put them in, so it needs to be a concerted effort. And I think that when I see on social media everybody complaining about speeders and reckless driving in the area, that a study is requested, and then they do a study that only lasts for 2 hours in the middle of the day, and then they say there's no problem with speeding. So I think that needs to be worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. The state legislature would have to allow Baltimore County to place speed cameras other than at schools and construction sites. Is Michelle Guyton here still? That bill's before the legislature, isn't it?
It's actually Delegate Guyton's bill.
I thought so. No, I mentioned the state legislature would have to enact legislation to allow speed cameras other than schools, and I knew you put in the bill, which is why I called you. Oh, really? And does the Baltimore County delegation not support it? Oh, and is DeAndrea here? Because she would, DeAndrea, I don't, is she here still? DeAndrea is.
Director Walker, I was going to call on you anyway, so.
She can do the study. Yeah. That's your department, transportation, right? DeAndrea is great. She's headed Public Works and Transportation, and she is very responsive. I'm sorry, Johnny.
No, I was just going to say, if you want to sync up with Director Walker and her team, I think there's a process in place now where we do have the investigation, and as I mentioned in the presentation, we've put forward funding for more traffic calming, et cetera. So,
Thank you.
So myself Kumariyar, I am a parent of Paronia Elementary School, where the support I am trying to request here is the school has multiple special needs kids and they are trying to provide their more efficient support. But from the county perspective, if there are additional adult assistant staffs or the supporting from the staff's perspective, it would be helpful for them so that the school to develop, because the more people are the needy whoever been studying there, because as she told, it's like a poverty level thing because more of them. So it would be helpful for them and the support would be very helpful for them. And the after school programs which can be helpful for the kids to get more insight on it, and the recreation council thing which can be like, I know that the PAL center is there and the community recreation council is there, but still if it's open for a public during some time, or if it's example a basketball thing or a shuttle practice kind of thing, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peter Forrest. I'm here to advocate for disc golf and more disc golf courses in Baltimore County. There are a couple locations that I've already talked about at previous council meetings, one being Days Cove, which I know we have funding for. Looking forward to connecting with Director Smith on that. In April, Mount Vista, the decommissioned ball golf course, I think would be an awesome location for disc golf as well. And then another person from the previous meeting, we connected, and he's going to propose a course at County Road Park in Cockeysville. And I think that would be a terrific location for disc golf as well. There is one disc golf course in Baltimore County, and that is at Pine Grove Middle School. Now, there is also more property around the elementary school that's very close to the middle school. They're kind of butt up the corner of the properties. I would like to request funding and permission to expand that disc golf course into the property, the wooded property, the unused property around the elementary school. There's significant property back there that we could utilize and let disc golfers use. I've already stated the cost effectiveness of disc golf being incredibly cheap compared to other sports. I mean, we're talking $10,000, $20,000, maybe a little bit more, but not these $1 million projects, not these multi-million-dollar projects. We're talking about pennies on the dollar for a sport complex that people, families can go out and have fun, have activity outside, and enjoy our wonderful green space that is in Baltimore County. Thank you.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think Dr. McComas is here from BCPS, although I don't know where. If you want to connect with Dr. McComas, she can hook you up with the right persons at BCPS to talk about the permissions. That'd be a school system thing, but we obviously are considering the funding as part of this process. So, thank you.
Mr. County Executive and Councilman, hi, my name is Harper Jenkins and I am a third grader at Carroll Manor Elementary School. I play field hockey, basketball, and lacrosse for Carroll Manor Rec. I am here tonight to ask you both to help us get a turf field at Sweeter Park. Our teams are really good, but unfortunately, a lot of teams don't like to play us at home because we are one of the only places without a turf field. Actually, most of the other teams we play in Baltimore County and beyond have turf fields, and we feel it's only fair that we should have one too. Last year, we even had a field hockey game that almost got canceled because the referee did not believe our field at Jacksonville Elementary was safe. They actually put cones over the holes in the field so no one would get hurt. This is embarrassing and not who we are as a rec program. Then as we get older, we lose players to other rec teams and club teams. Not because we don't have good coaches or programs, but because we don't have good fields. I love Carroll Manor and I would not want to leave, and I would not want my friends to leave either, as I like playing with them. And my dream is to play field hockey and lacrosse for North Carolina. They are the best and we have the same uniform colors. However, that will be hard if we don't have a good field. There are a lot of parents and coaches here tonight that support this, and I am sure they can fill in more info. I just wanted you to know, as one of the Carroll Manor kids that play sports, how much we want the field. Thank you for your time and help, and please support us getting a turf field.
Doesn't the future look very bright? Very bright.
Hello, my name is Annette Karunja, and I'm here with my father, who's seated over there, my daughter, Ava Marie. Some of you might know my father, he's Thomas Moira, my brother, and some other community members. I'm here from an organization called Haki Zetu. I'm going to teach you a little Swahili. Haki Zetu means our rights, and we come together to advocate for the rights of our community, which includes the greater Baltimore County, but also individuals who are from the Kenyan diaspora, as well as East Africa and beyond. There is a 13% immigrant-born population here in Baltimore County that continues to grow, as you can see. And we are asking for specific funding that is going to be allocated for the immigrant community so that we can continue to provide the services that we've been providing for our community, through our community, but with the government support. We have been We have our community center, Elimu Community Center, which we invite you to come and visit, especially during the summer where we have our summer school programs. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we had to close down our transportation program, which allowed us to pick up children and take them to their designated schools. As you know, a lot of immigrant populations have working individuals who may not be able to take their children to and from school easily. Additionally, they may not be able to take them to extracurricular activities. We would like funding to be able to take our students to places like the Marshy Point Nature Center, which I know has a table here today, so that they can experience all of the wonderful things that Baltimore County has to offer. We also would additionally ask that funding would go beyond just the students, but also to mental health programming and to cultural enrichment programs throughout the year. Our second and big ask that we are asking as a community is for an African fellow for the Office of Immigrant Affairs. This is specifically important to us because while we have an amazing person representing us in Juliana Valencia Banks, we do know that she is only one person with one fellow, and we would like one that would specifically reach the needs for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly about how lucky we are to have Juliana leading our immigrant affairs work. We did, as you mentioned, expand that a bit with a fellow through some of our ARPA funding, and then additionally, we have recognized, I think for the first time in this county, that we do have a large, diverse immigrant population doing things like, and Juliana, if you want to speak to some of the work we've done around specific grants to the immigrant community, et cetera, and some of the work that we're doing in this space.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, County Executive, Councilman. Thank you so much. Through the work that we've done at the County Executive's office, we were able to allocate specific dollars from the American Recovery Funds, the ARPA dollars, to specifically help our nonprofits that serve immigrants. So these nonprofits are doing case management. They're also doing legal services. They're doing other kinds of case management to connect people to health services, housing assistance, things that our new American communities, because of lack of information, may not be aware that these services are available. So we were able to procure $500,000 for 9 specific nonprofits that are doing this work, and it also funded our Immigration Affairs Fellow. Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Juliana Valencia Banks, soy la coordinadora de asuntos de inmigrantes. Como parte de los fondos del American Recovery Act, hemos podido alocar dinero específicamente para ayudar a las organizaciones sin fines de lucro que sirven a la comunidad inmigrante. Este dinero se está dividiendo entre 9 organizaciones. Estas organizaciones van a conectar a personas a recursos de salud mental, de vivienda, de labor. También van a ayudar a conectar a personas a servicios legales, y esto es en colaboración con el American Recovery Act. Ese dinero también me ayudó a contratar a una practicante y vamos a continuar creciendo la oficina.
Buenas noches, señor Ejecutivo del Condado, a todos los que nos acompañan, maestros, directores de escuela. Mi nombre es Reina Coreas.
Good evening, County Executive, Councilman, all of our community leaders. My name is Reina Correas.
Yo represento a la Escuela Padone Internacional. Yo tengo 2 niños, uno en primer grado, otro en 4º grado.
I represent Padonia International. I'm a parent of 2 children at the school, one in 4th grade and the other one, ¿en qué grado? In 1st grade.
Estoy aquí para pedirles que dentro del presupuesto incluyan lo que es el deporte para los niños, fomentar el deporte.
I would like to ask for additional funding for recreational activities, specifically sports-oriented activities.
Como lo son danza, natación, softball, fútbol, que a uno de mis niños le encanta y me gustaría que hubieran inscripciones a bajo costo.
I would like to advocate for low-cost athletic programming to include folk dancing, swimming, soccer, American football, softball, My son loves these activities.
ya que yo he investigado y son demasiado caros.
The programs that I've looked into are cost prohibitive,
Y me gustaría que dentro del presupuesto pues incluyeran eso. Muchas gracias.
so I would like to ask that you include additional funding for recreational activities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Director Smith, I'm going to ask you actually to just talk a bit. So we actually have our Department of Recreation and Parks working with Corey Johns, who is the chair of our rec board, to inventory some of the programs, and then with the goal ultimately of being, if there are gaps in provision, to let our department step up.
Yes, sir. We're looking at the system-wide recreation offerings in the county, doing an in-depth dive to see what is offered currently, as well as cost and any barriers to those programs. And then we're looking for the department to step in with support from the Board of Recreation and Parks to then offer programs to fill in the gaps where there's not enough or the appropriate style or size or type of program for the residents. So we're kind of looking at a whole universe of our programs and finding ways to meet the needs that aren't currently being met.
Mr. County Executive, I just want to make the statement that prior to this administration, we had what's called delayed maintenance with schools, with roads, etc. We also had programs that were cut back. But at the same time, this county was giving large amounts of money to various developers. For instance, $43 million to a group that built the what's it called? What's that place called? Towson Row, and other large amounts of money that should never have gone to those groups. And our population in Baltimore County has suffered because of it. And we have a county executive now who is addressing our needs. But you also have to remember the people who pay the taxes, all of us who pay taxes. And so there's got to be a delicate balance there. But this administration is working hard to address all the needs of this county. And this administration should be getting a lot of credit for what they're doing, and at the same time trying not to put too much burden on taxpayers. So
It's been in partnership. I mean, the council has been supportive of the work. So I hope that tonight is a reflection and a microcosm of trying to balance all of those interests. And I think the thing to remember is, in addition to the variety of requests we have tonight, we have 7 conversations just like this in communities across Baltimore County. So it really is a balancing act. We do our level best to try to meet as many of the needs as we can. If we don't get to a request this year, or we don't fully get to a request this year, please don't lose heart. Don't be discouraged. We hear you. I have a big board and a list that I keep and that we're intentional about getting to. So your input matters a great deal.
but the 3rd district should be your top priority. And I say that to the council, and I say that to our county executive, because we have great people living in the 3rd district, and it's the most beautiful district in Baltimore County, and I'm sure you'll all agree with that. Even the county executive will agree that it's the most beautiful, right?
It's the most beautiful district in northern Baltimore County.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Steve Malin. Johnny, I'm your appointee on the Animal Services Advisory Commission. I've had a 2-year stint with them so far. You are in receipt of our 2022 annual report, which highlighted the fact that our animal intake was over 6,000 animals in an 11-month period, which represents almost a 20% increase from a normal year. Given the fact that less than 2% of the Baltimore County budget is designated for animal services, we feel that there are many features that we could offer the general public in pet issues that are not available in Baltimore County right now. In a neighboring county, they have 77 classified employees, 8 contractuals. That comes out to a 6% euthanasia rate. Here in Baltimore County, we have 55 classified employees, no contractuals, and last year we were at a 17% euthanasia rate, which is unacceptable to many residents in the county. Vital functions, many animals do classified to be euthanized, but there are many that are being euthanized now due to behavior problems, and we do not have the staff to interact with these animals to prepare them for adoption. We have used your guidance for your document to improve government services, and we'd like to meet with you again to coordinate some partnerships, maybe some 501(c)(3)s. We need some novel approaches to staffing, and we also would be in favor of maybe a reorganization of county government to allow the animal services to maintain a separate operating budgets. Many of our progressive solutions to ongoing problems actually will enhance our services to the citizens, and I believe that's your goal from your document. Thank you.
Mr. County Executive, who, is Dr. Branch here? Or what?
Yeah, I was just asking if he wants to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. You know, I always like to talk. So that's not a problem at all. But I think with the commission and what we're trying to do with animal services, we are all on the same wavelength in trying to save as many of those lives of those animals and be able to decrease the euthanasia rate. So clearly, we are extraordinarily open to all the ideas that the commission has and what we're trying to do. So let's continue the conversations, and I think that clearly you have some wonderful, wonderful ideas that I think we can actually implement.
Dr. Branch, I'd like to see Barks come to Baltimore County like they're in Baltimore City and have a public-private partnership. And I understand that they're interested. So I think that would be a great partnership. Barks does run the Baltimore City shelter, and they're very successful. I've visited a couple of animal shelters, one in Montgomery County, one, well, DC and Fairfax. And, you know, there's many new innovative programs that we need to take a look at in order to reduce the rate of euthanasia and also to help people who have to give up their pets because they don't have enough money to feed the pets. They don't have enough money should the pet need an operation, don't have enough money for that. Also, people to help animals with behavior problems. So, and these other shelters have very innovative programs. I know it's all a matter of money. I realize that. And I certainly thank you for all you've done, because I remember when I was elected to the council in 2014, what a mess. And it's not a mess anymore, and I thank you.
So I would like to just comment that one of the standards that's very, very successful is the public-private partnerships. And I think that's an excellent idea. That's something that we should continue to look into. I could not in any way, shape, or form promise it's going to be Barks, anything like that at all. But I think that whole concept and that idea is one that we have to continue to explore.
And as we're bringing the mic back for our next speaker, I was a social studies and special education teacher. Councilman Catch was a math teacher. I can do some math, though. I'm looking at the line of folks and where we are. I'm going to try to just direct future speakers to our agency heads rather than try to, so please don't take it personally if my responses are shorter. I want to try to get through as many speakers as we can the rest of the way out.
Good evening. I'm here today. My bad. My name's Ashley Hernandez. I'm here today to kind of talk about the funding, especially for immigrant students in healthcare, because I, as an immigrant student here in Baltimore County, I feel like I experience like, how can I put this? Like, we don't get enough attention in the way that adults, like especially like mothers, because if I need like to go to my bad, I'm a little nervous. If I need to go to the doctor, if I need to go to the hospital, I don't have that funding. I don't have that access, and I feel like there should be more representation and maybe more funding towards students like me, because I miss a lot of school days that I can't get back, and I don't have the money, let's say, to go to the doctor, to go to the hospital, to go to the dentist. And I feel like that's something we should look more into, because it's healthcare. Everybody needs it, especially us who don't have that accessibility to it. And also adults as well. Let me go back into that. Um, a lot of new moms, especially immigrant moms who get like WIC and all that stuff, I feel like they need more, because they're not. A lot of them are not employed. I've talked to a lot of you know connections. They don't get what they need, and I feel like the government can help with that, and they can fund to help them, new moms, students, etc., get what, like, the healthcare and necessities they need. That's it, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Branch. Thank you, Councilman Catch, and thank you, County Executive. I'm here to talk about the animal shelter again. Some of the most common reasons animals are surrendered to shelters include issues with housing, lack of access to affordable veterinary care, and the need for behavioral support. Other reasons include financial strain, making it difficult to access pet food and supplies, fencing demands, and a variety of human-related factors such as allergies, divorce, illness. Support can include telephone response and advice, medical support for owned pets, food and supplies, fence building, pet shelter provision, behavior support, vaccines and microchips, spay and neuter, which the shelter is already doing, crisis and emergency boarding, owned pet fostering, pet deposits, and advocacy for apartment dwellers. It can also include access to resources and information. By investing in these services, the Baltimore County Animal Services can actually reduce the number of surrenders, thereby reducing the cost of maintaining animals in the shelter, which is the primary allocation of the budget today, apart from salaries. Many of the services outlined above can be provided by volunteers, making the shelter even more effective in being both economically efficient as well as providing valuable services to the community. In order to provide these services, however, BCAS needs staff members who are dedicated to issues relating to, for example, surrender. These staff members can use BCAS funding or liaise with animal welfare groups to secure funding and materials to provide pet food and supplies, behavioral training, medical help, and temporary fosters. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Luis.
Good evening, my name is Luis.
Yo le vengo a hablar sobre algunos problemas que estamos teniendo en nuestras escuelas nosotros como jóvenes hispanos.
I'm here to talk to you about some issues that we are having as Hispanic youth in our schools.
Es como algo que me pasó a mí. Yo estuve enfermo como 3 semanas y no pude asistir a la escuela porque fui a la clínica y lo primero que hicieron pedir fue, ¿tú tienes seguro?
I was sick and I missed 3 weeks of school. When I went to a community clinic, the first thing they did was ask me, do you have insurance?
Y fue muy difícil para mí, créame. fue muy difícil para mí también ir a la escuela y que tú quieras jugar un deporte que en realidad te guste, que sos apasionado y no puedas. ¿Por qué? Porque no tienes un seguro médico.
For me, this was very difficult. It's very difficult when somebody like me who loves sports, who wants to participate in school athletic programs, can't because I don't have health insurance.
Porque los maestros te saben decir si te golpeas, te quiebras un brazo, te quiebras una pierna, y en realidad nosotros, los jóvenes hispanos, los queremos meter como le digo, a los deportes, en los estudios, y como queremos más oportunidades en deportes y en educación y en salud.
Our teachers and our coaches will tell us what happens if you get hurt, if you break a leg, if you break an arm. You need health insurance in order to participate in school sports. We love our schools. We want to participate in athletics. We want additional funding to support our Latino youth so that we can access different programs, have the same opportunities, especially when it comes to education and healthcare.
Y también hace poco, creo que fue un acto de racismo, porque yo fui a pedir comida a mi cafetería y la muchacha de la cafetería no me quiso dar. Y yo cuando vi que a otras personas que no eran latinas sí les dio, o sea, yo me sentí mal porque no hay que tener preferencia de género.
I'll highlight one final incident that happened at my school. I went to the school cafeteria to ask for food, and I was denied food. And immediately after me, somebody else asked for food, and they were given food, and they were not Latino. So I just want to make sure that all people are being treated fairly, that nobody's given preference because of their ethnicity or their race.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Oh, good evening, sorry. Hi, my name is Jim Wheeler. I live in Cockeysville. I am an animal lover and have 2 dogs of my own. I know that the people in this county care about their pets, and they even care about their neighbors' pets. I often see on Facebook and next door many cases where people step up when they see a stray dog or cat and make an effort to find and return this animal to its owners, who are most likely living in the neighborhood. I know there are other ways that people would be willing to help if they were just asked. For instance, I am a home maintenance expert in Baltimore County. I know that lots of times these animals escape because they have problems with their enclosures. Often fences and gates need repair. I'd be more than willing to volunteer my services to do so. If I can get I can even get a couple of friends to volunteer and help build the fence if needed, and possibly get the materials donated. But I don't know how to make it happen. If the county would reach out to people in the community who are willing to help and volunteer in some way, even to provide pet food or use pet supplies, I think the animals would be better off, people would be better off, so would our county, so would our communities. Today, it's important that if people want to have animals, that they have to have the support to keep these animals and not have to surrender them to the shelter, which just causes more problems for the animals and the sadness for people. Why don't more people know about the Baltimore County Animal Services and how they can help keep people and pets together? Thank you.
Thank you for that offer. If you want to make sure you connect with Dr. Branch before you head out, we'll make sure we get you with all the right folks so that we can explore that.
Hello, I'm Dorothy Towsley, retired Baltimore County public school teacher, and thank you for this opportunity. I want you to use the Baltimore County budget to help improve one of the problems that students in Baltimore County public schools are facing. Since the beginning of this school year, in August 2022, up till January 6 of 2023, over 200 teachers under contract have left their classroom assignments. Some retired because they were eligible, and some simply broke their contract and left. In the past, many teachers eligible for retirement during the school year waited until school was out for the sake of their students. Now many just want out. Since January 6th was not even halfway through the school year, we have to wonder how many more are and will be leaving before the end of the school in June 2023. This is a serious crisis. Let's look at the reality of 200 teachers leaving BCPS classrooms by early January. Let's say these 200 were all elementary school teachers with about 25 students in their classes. That means 5,000 elementary students have suffered the loss and disruption of their teacher leaving. If these 200 teachers were instead middle or high school teachers with a class size of 25 in each of the 6 classes assigned to them, 30,000 students would be affected. The student bond with one elementary classroom teacher is not quite the same as when older students have only one class out of the day with each teacher. However, these disruptions and disappointments are significant. When students are trying to recover from the lost time and classroom disruption to instruction caused by the COVID shutdown, no matter what their grade is in school, find ways to use the budget to retain teachers. Smaller class sizes and pay raises will help. There are many more ways. This is a very serious crisis. Thank you.
Baltimore County Public Schools have had a problem with teachers leaving, not retiring, but quitting. And I have begged the school system to please interview each and every teacher that's leaving to find out why. And then the school system needs to address those reasons, resolve those problems so that we don't lose our teachers in the middle of the year or the end of the year. There's a big difference between retiring and just quitting, and there's lots that just quit.
Good evening. My name is Ann George, and I'm Councilman Couch's appointment to the Animal Advisory Commission. And I just want to say that I am absolutely thrilled at what you have proposed here tonight. It's long overdue. There are a lot of positive things happening at the animal shelter now. I want to say that. One of the most positive things is our Assistant Chief, Kayla Francowski, who's up there. Kayla, are you there? Can you wave to people? This young lady has held the fort down there every time there's been a change in leadership in the last 4 years. She's the Assistant Chief now. She's also doing it now. She's been at every single one of these town meetings, and she should be recognized for how much she's done. And she's also become very much aware of the new programs that are out there, the best practices, and she's doing her best to try to implement them now. But she's having problems. Staff are leaving. We've lost 3 staff in the last few weeks, and we need staffing. 3 things are necessary for great animal services: community engagement. We need more of that. We need more help from the county in terms of getting the word out about animal shelters and how people can help. You heard that other man talk about that. And we need the programs and the staff, dedicated staff that are willing to implement these programs. And I just want to thank Kayla for the wonderful leadership she's shown over the last few years. Several times she stepped up when there's been a change in leadership. Thank you.
Good evening, Cindy Sexton, President of the Teachers Association, representing the almost 9,000 educators of Baltimore County, except we're losing them by the hundreds. There is a crisis, and those scores were not good, and we're not going to fix it if we can't recruit and retain our educators. So we are moving towards a better starting salary. We're still in the middle of the state, ninth in the state for career earnings. So we're just asking, money alone won't solve the problem, but we need to do what we can to recruit and retain our educators so we can work with all the students of Baltimore County. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. I'll just, and I haven't said this as much in prior, but I also just want to emphasize, like, it's also the quality of life. It's the workload in the classroom. It's student discipline. It's safety of teachers. Like, it all is part of the mix.
Hi, good evening. My name is Denise Baugh, and I'm a member of the Baltimore County Coalition of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, which is a volunteer organization. We're proposing a Truth and Reconciliation Park on Bosley Avenue at the intersection of Bosley and Baltimore Avenues in Towson. In 1885, 15-year-old African-American resident of Towson was convicted of assault and rape by an all-white jury, and they deliberated for less than a minute. Before that case could be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, a mob stormed the Old Towson jail and lynched Howard Cooper. 2 years ago, the coalition, in collaboration with the county, organized the installation and dedication of a historical marker at that intersection. Dignitaries in attendance included former Governor Larry Hogan and also our county executive, John Olszewski, Jr. We continue to appreciate our county executive's support of this idea. The coalition, along with participating civic and faith-based organizations, as well as community associations, are committed to organizing fundraising campaigns, participating in the design of the park, maintaining its grounds, and holding community events. The Truth and Reconciliation Park will inspire learning, reflection, and also promote healthy interactions for all of Baltimore County residents. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski, Delegate Guyton, and Councilmember Catch. Thank you for your time. I'm Lloyd Allen, he, him, special educator in mathematics, speaking as an individual in support of funding public education. Now, in the intro, the three of you identified as former educators. I'm still in the game. Mr. Catch, you spoke to vacancies in other public agencies, but I'm here to tell you that vacancies in our schools interfere with student achievement the same way that vacancies interfere with the services that you identified. But privatization isn't the answer. Just fully staff us with appropriately prepared and supported educators. I like your metric of outpaying all other public agencies within 200 miles. Mr. Olszewski, I heard and appreciated your words in Towson and your intention for educators in Baltimore County to be the best paid educators in the state. Thank you. Helping educators help students helps our future, clearly. Delegate Guyton, thank you for any and all support from the state in meeting the guidelines of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. It is visionary and will help students and their communities. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Witt-Bucheri, and I'm the team director and coach for one of the 25 mountain bike teams across the state of Maryland, with several based in Baltimore County. I'm here to advocate for more sanctioned and maintained mountain bike trails in northern Baltimore County. Last season, the Maryland Interscholastic Cycling League had 730 student athletes and 240 licensed coaches. Now in season 6, this organization has grown on average of 20% each season. Most of these teams have easy access to trails, such as the ones near Patapsco State Park. The teams near northern Baltimore County have limited, safe, and sanctioned trails with traffic-free access to entry points. My understanding from past meetings is that the Parks Department has reiterated multiple times that their support for more mountain bike trails if people want them, and I'm here to say absolutely we want them. The mountain bike community is very tight, and one of our core values is trail stewardship. If you ride the trails, you feel an obligation to help maintain them. There are many models of cooperation between trail users, parks, and other partner organizations such as Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park. With the continuous growth of the Maryland League, there are hundreds of students and families who are excited to be part of the equation in building, maintaining, and sustaining low-impact trails under the supervision of the Mid-Atlantic off-road enthusiast. The Teen Trail Corps program and certification was created specifically to introduce student athletes to the culture of service, environmental stewardship, and leave no trace practices. Last year, student athletes logged 740 hours of trail work. So in closing, I would like to ask again for your attention to building new trail systems within the Baltimore County so that we can get our students off their screens and into the woods where they can ride the trails and experience our beautiful Baltimore County parks. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Wilmer, and I would like to take a few moments to discuss the importance of park safety. Parks are a great place to relax, exercise, and enjoy the outdoors. However, it is essential to keep safety in mind to ensure that everyone has an enjoyable experience. Many parks are run down, have lots of rust, are old and have some missing pieces, or are just broken and unsafe. Many are around schools or around places that kids might be. We hope that you can add more funding to parks to prevent unsafe accidents. A couple of budgets ago, you said that parks would be cleaner and maintained, but it's simply not true. I have been to a couple parks near my school, and they're still mostly same. Rust, missing swings, and have litter. Please fix this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wilmer. If you want to go talk to Director Smith with any parks that you have specifically, as Councilman Catch mentioned, we've inherited a lot of legacy parks, buildings, schools that have been disinvested and underinvested for years. We are doing our very best to catch up on that, but there's a lot, so we're working through it. But please let Director Smith know. We're happy to try to add him to the list.
Good evening. My name is John Marslek. I'm here as a father of 3 boys that live up in the North County, as well as the president of the Pretty Boy Recreation Council. And I know Mr. Smith over there from Parks and Recs. But I just wanted to, again, bring to your attention that a lot of the parks and recreation spaces in North County are tied to the schools. And one of the challenges we have is school coordination and logistics between recs and parks and Baltimore County are very challenging because the school tries to focus on their capital improvement projects, and then the recreation side of things, the school can't necessarily leverage their capital and their political capital to try to improve the parks, the fields, the playground equipment for the kids. And granted, I don't think we're bad off as other places in the county, but it is just a extra step that we've challenged that we have. And the other thing I'd like to obviously point out is our support as the Recreation Council, as well as North County residents, for the Belfast Road Park project. And I know a lot of times there's this saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. But with all due respect, I'd like to flip the script on that a little bit and say I'd almost rather we move just a little bit slower on that particular project, because we have been waiting for over 20 years for a park, and I don't want our park to be rushed through just to get something done. If maybe just by going a little slower, we could maybe re-engineer things where we could get like 1 extra field, because it's not like we can just keep getting parks put in up in that area. Also, there's a Middletown Road property that I'd love to see the county start to plan for. I believe Director knows about it, and I'd love to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for coming out tonight.
Hola, mi nombre es Jennifer.
Good evening, my name is Jennifer.
Soy miembro de Casa Maryland.
I'm a member of Casa Maryland.
Quiero contar un poquito de mi historia.
to share a little bit about my story.
Yo fui a emergencia porque tenía una vena tapada, tengo una vena tapada atrás del hígado.
I wound up in the emergency room because one of my veins is clogged behind my liver.
Y me hallaron varios coágulos sanguíneos, entonces tuve que estar casi 2 semanas en el hospital.
They found various clogged veins, and I had to be in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Y después de eso tuve que estar yendo a citas y todo eso, me llegaron muchos biles todo el tiempo que estuve en el hospital y el tiempo que estaba yendo a citas.
As a result of many days in the hospital, many appointments with doctors, I began receiving medical bills.
Y pues de ahí salí embarazada, las citas de mi embarazo también me llegaban cobros.
When I became pregnant, I also started receiving and incurring medical bills to cover the care of the pregnancy.
Y llegué a un total de casi 20,000 lempiras, $20,000, perdón. Y pues como no tengo seguro, creo que todo eso sube.
In total, I have more than $20,000 of medical debt because I am uninsured, and as the debt continues to accrue interest, it goes up.
Y pienso que sería bueno que los latinos que no tenemos seguro, como yo, como varios, iban a emergencias y tienen algún problema médico, fuera bueno que tuvieran seguro, porque pues pienso que ellos necesitan ir al doctor y no van a veces por no tener seguro.
I would like to advocate that funding be allocated for health insurance and medical services for undocumented immigrants like myself that are uninsured and whose only means of medical attention is going to emergency rooms and receiving medical debt like what I have.
Pues eso quería decir nada más. Muchas gracias por escucharme y creo que sí es necesario que los hispanos tengamos seguro, tanto para los niños como para los adultos.
Thank you so much for hearing me. Just want to close out by saying it's very important that Hispanics and immigrants have health insurance, not only for our children, but also for adults. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ned Halley. I'm the Vice President of the Land Preservation Trust. I know you have heard of lots of a whole spectrum of serious problems, and I'm here to just put in a good word for land preservation. I was thrilled to see your slide. We've got 70,000 acres preserved, but the size of the 3rd district alone is about twice that. We need more funding. Baltimore County is maybe 1/10 of the funding of our neighboring counties, Carroll and Hartford. So I would encourage you to try to find a way to keep more, to continue with the good work that we've done and fund it as much as you possibly can. And I just want to say, if the people in the room who are interested in land preservation, who support it, please stand up, or if you're standing up, raise your hand. I think it's a popular situation. And again, I thank you very much for all the help that you've given us so far.
All right, good evening. My name is Megan Shorb. I'm the general manager at Caves Valley Golf Club, which is actually in District 2, Owings Mills, Maryland. And I'm actually here tonight representing the Western Golf Association, who is the host of the BMW Championship Golf Tournament, which is going to be coming back to Caves Valley in August of 2025. The Western Golf Association is seeking assistance from Baltimore County as well as the state of Maryland in helping to offset some of the $13 million worth of direct costs that go into hosting this tournament in Baltimore County. The 2021 BMW Championship that was hosted at Caves was a resounding success. We had over 100,000 spectators come into the county to be a part of this event over the course of 4 or 5 days. We also generated approximately $23 million of local spending and $2.7 million worth of state and local tax revenues. I think the other important thing to note when you talk about a big tournament like this with the PGA Tour is that this is not just a big for-profit engine. The proceeds of this tournament ultimately are contributed to the Evans Scholars Foundation, which is a not-for-profit entity of the Western Golf Association. And with the 2021 BMW Championship, we actually raised a record $5.6 million of funding for the Evans Scholars Foundation. And through 2025, we expect to complete the full $10 million funding for an Evans Scholars House at the University of Maryland College Park and endow future scholarships for Baltimore County caddies, other Maryland local caddies, to have a full tuition and housing scholarship. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Collins. I am the head of Schwan Downs. Schwan Downs is 250 acres of field and forest within sight of the Hunt Valley I-83 interchange. Over 20 years ago, it was saved from development thanks to 200 neighbors who donated just under $4 million to buy the property, preserve it, and create the infrastructure needed to hold equine events when not being farmed for hay. Schwan Downs has the capacity to host up to 8 events a year if it were not for the degraded state of the road, fencing, irrigation system, and importantly, the old and possibly historic barns. We are asking the county for $250,000 to help restore and improve the infrastructure necessary to host equine events. I think we've heard much about that, or about horses earlier. Why is this important to the county? As we've already heard, Maryland has more horses per acre than any state, and 25% of all agricultural land is dedicated to in some form to horses, most notably in Baltimore County. Equine events not only support local traditions, Schwan Downs attracts horses, trainers, owners, helpers, and spectators from throughout the region, sometimes measuring in the many thousands. Horses and steeplechase racing are important to Baltimore County, both in dollars and through the agricultural community and open space they support. So thank you very much for listening to the appeal and for all you've done for Baltimore County.
Thank you. Have you applied to the state for a bond that, a grant?
We are working with the state in
With-
hopes to achieve something,
Is
yes.
there legislation in for a bond?
I do not think there is, because it's
Okay.
been a new administration.
Right.
And their first budget came out without a lot in it. They were hoping for 4 supplemental budgets.
Right.
And so we're working,
Well,
hoping.
this is a legislative bond, so that's different. So you need to contact the state senator and
We have.
delegate to ask them to put in a bond.
I'm meeting with a delegate on
We have
Monday
both.
morning.
Now, you're gonna
Okay.
have to wait till next year, though, for that January. It's a little late for a bond.
I will call your office. Thank you, to find out more.
Thank
Okay,
you
thank
very
you.
much. Again, just trying to make sure we get through everybody. I know we're going to be close, so
That's all right. Good evening. My name is Laura Mullen, here with my friend Damien, and I'm here tonight as a member and group leader of the LTRC Pickleball Club and its 400 members, and I have 2 low-budget requests. Seminary Park Court is scheduled to be resurfaced and overlaid with pickleball lines. However, according to Baltimore County's practice, not a policy, there will only be 4 courts instead of the 6 that we currently utilize. If the county goes ahead with the proposed overlay of the 4 courts, there will not be enough space for the leagues to chalk the 2 additional courts. And yes, our 50 to 70-year-olds are on their hands and knees every day chalking those 2 additional courts. We're more than willing to meet with the county to develop a better option. A common sense change would go a long way towards the needs of your constituents. In this case, over 400 members, ages 40 to 70 on average. Our leagues currently have permitted play of more than 43 hours a week, and we play every day in every season, all year long. The social and recreational aspects cannot and should not be underestimated. Sensible changes now can alleviate bigger budget dollars next year and in future years. Secondly, can you please replace the broken lights at county home courts? Tennis and pickleball players have been asking to no avail for months. Most of the courts are in darkness and are dangerous for the players. Someone is going to get hurt because of the lack of lighting. Thank you for this opportunity tonight.
Thank you. And I would just make sure that I've got multiple folks standing up for this one too, so, if you could connect with Director Smith just to make sure we have that meeting set before you head out, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Danny Golombek. I live in Lutherville. I wanted to express my support for the administration housing policies detailed tonight. For our communities to thrive, for our schools to excel, we need our teachers, our law enforcement officers, and our first responders to live in the neighborhoods they serve, nearly centrally located transportation hubs. It is a powerful incentive to attract them to join us here in District 3 and eliminate the current vacancies. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elaine Casman. I am a retired teacher and a master naturalist and master gardener. I want to thank you for your support of our nature parks, which are so important to our physical and mental health, and even more so to the health of our planet and all its life forms. Specifically, I'd like to address Oregon Ridge Park, and more specifically, the Memorial Woodland Restoration Garden, a project that has been a dream for many years. Last year, the state gave the county $50,000 for this project, and a committee has chosen a site. We've consulted with several environmental landscape firms, so this plan is, as they say, shovel-ready. With deer fencing installed, people will be able to experience the variety and beauty of our native wildflowers, ferns, mosses, flowering trees, and shrubs. They will discover the ecological importance of our native plants, value and protect them, and add them to their landscapes. If we can get this fence up soon, recovering natives will have a chance to establish and thrive this year. We can map out paths and contemplative rest areas and begin filling in planting areas. I also want to honor the memorial aspect of this garden. Many people have helped to establish the park and to save and add hundreds of acres of woodland. Some of these people are here right now. One woman in particular, still living, spearheaded the acquisition of the Merriman property and deserves to be honored in her lifetime. And the state supported the memorial dedication of this garden. Many volunteers are ready to plant, to maintain the woodland restoration, and we have the support of our Nature Council. I hope Baltimore County will move quickly to help us begin this project so our citizens can begin to enjoy it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Callista, and I'm representing the Lutherville Twain Recreation Council. We started in 1951. That's how long we've been in business. I've been treasurer for the last 25 years. Our programming has changed over the years, as I've seen. FY14, we had over 10,000 participants in 64 programs. We're down to about 8,000 participants with 34 programs. And there are a number of reasons for that. COVID certainly decimated our rec parks, our programs. Teachers who did our math reading programs, summer camps, did not return. Those programs have gone by the wayside. We are struggling for volunteers. We're now at a point where our larger programs require paid administrators to run the program. When you've got 2,000 kids in a soccer program, a volunteer just isn't going to handle it. So we struggle, we push forward, but we keep going. We compete with these commercial sporting venues. We're in competition with them for space and for participants. We bankroll about 42 positions through county group leadership that the Rec Council pays for to augment our programs. Our adult pickleball program is probably the largest growing program that we have in our Rec Council. Space is inadequate, as you've already heard, so we need some more space there. We spend about $135,000 a year renting space. We have 4 elementary schools, 1 middle school. Our net space has not changed in over 50 years. I grew up in Lutherville. The same schools that were there then are there today. The number of fields are there. There's been no net gain at all. Our biggest budget priority is the development of the Villa Maria property, which the county acquired a few years ago. That's number one. We need space yesteryear, not today. We need it years ago. We are at a point now we're back to a growth spurt. We're starting to turn away kids. We have waiting lists that we don't like to have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ralph Brown. I'm the president of the Oregon Ridge Nature Center Council. And like Oscar Knight, I'm just here to thank lots of people. In the past year, I've had the pleasure of hiking through the woods at Oregon Ridge with many stakeholders and can report that to a person, everyone agreed that the land of Oregon Ridge had been neglected and needed immediate attention. As a result, good things have started to happen. In the past year, due to the efforts of Delegate Guyton, Senator West, along with the help of Corey Johns, $100,000 was awarded to Baltimore County to be used for our trails and woodland gardens. At the first budget town hall meeting, County Executive Olszewski stated that the plans are already underway for preservation and restoration of the trails and woods at the park. Member of the Nature Council have met with Bob Smith, Courtney Weinstock from Rec and Parks, and David Likens and Carrie Oberholzer from DEPS, and they've all promised that trail and land management at Oregon Ridge is a high priority, so thanks to you all. Finally, I just want to mention a prime example from the past where public and private worlds came together for the benefit of Oregon Ridge. It was in the late 1980s, and 200 acres contiguous to the park had been sold to a developer. Through the efforts of private citizens, corporations, and county and state government, $3 million were raised to buy back that property and make it part of Oregon Ridge. One of the leaders in getting that funding was Wade Cash. Now, every time I hike along the highly praised Basement Run stream, I say a big thanks to Councilman Cash. At this point, I'm optimistic that 35 years from now, when people are on the trails at Oregon Ridge walking through areas of native wildflowers, with singing Baltimore Orioles and scarlet tanagers, they'll be able to say thank you again.
Good evening. My name is Abe Yaffe, and I'm the president of the Cromwell Valley Park Council. We're a citizen volunteer group that advocates for our 460-acre park on Cromwell Bridge Road, just south of Loch Raven Reservoir. 2023 is actually the 30th anniversary of the purchase of the first tract of land by the state that allowed for the creation of the park. We currently have almost 600 members in our organization, and our estimated attendance in 2022 was about 315,000 people. Cromwell Valley Park is an important resource for Baltimore County residents, especially when it comes to education about natural resources, conservation, and natural history. We offer hundreds of programs throughout the year for people of all ages, especially for children via our Polywogs program for toddlers and free nature education field trips for Baltimore County students. I'm here tonight to talk about capital improvements at Cromwell Valley Park. In 2020, the state committed $600,000 via a bond initiative and program open space funds sponsored by Senator West and Delegate Guyton. In the 2021 Baltimore County budget included $1.5 million for several projects at the park, including a new pavilion, desperately needed roadway and parking enhancements, an accessibility trail, and renovations to a building called the Barnatorium that has been used as a nature education classroom space and as a base of operations for a very popular summer camp. To date, none of these improvements have been started. However, I have been in touch several times with Drew Emmer, Chief of Capital Planning and Development at Rec and Parks, about the progress on all this, and he explained to me that the design got bogged down for a while due to some environmental reviews. We also just learned that we are no longer allowed to use the barnatorium as classroom or program space due to structural concerns. Unfortunately, due to inflation, the funding approved for these projects 2 and 3 years ago is no longer enough to complete them all. I understand there's a request for about $2 million of additional funding in this year's budget so that all these long-needed improvements can be afforded. So on behalf of the citizens of Baltimore County, and especially the many devoted users of the park, I implore you to improve these funds so that Cromwell Valley Park may continue to thrive as an oasis of wilderness and a focal point for nature education. Thanks for your time and consideration.
All right, and just real quick, I'm sorry, okay, apologize, up here. Just real quick, we have come to 8:30, so we just again remind you to please continue to keep your comments brief, but Mr. County Executive and Councilman, we have a comment back here.
My apologies, I can't get to you. My name is Dave Sanders. I live in the Timonium Heights neighborhood in Cockeysville, specifically on a small hill at the intersection of York Road and Padonia Road. The residents at the top of this hill have had their own well and septic for many years. My family's been there since 1969. Most of us do not want to connect to county services, and we have no need for it. We have our own wells, we have our own septic. Recently, there has been a builder that has promised Baltimore County that he will put county water and county septic up that hill and to connect to, well, they're going to cram 6 additional houses onto my dead-end street, which is going to drastically affect the looks of our neighborhood, the congestion of it, and I certainly don't want to pay the additional taxes that these improvements will bring to our area, and I'm sure many others don't. Yeah, most of us are retired, older people, and we'd like to not lose the ability to keep our homes because of the higher taxes we'd have to pay for these improvements. In addition, the 6 additional houses on a dead-end street, very small lots, and it's a problem. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe Cronin, and I'm a proud resident of the 3rd Councilmanic District. I want to share with you the experiences of an Afghan refugee family which my church is supporting in its relocation to the U.S. after their traumatic withdrawal from Afghanistan in September 2021. Our wonderful family is a dad, mom, and 4 boys, aged 1.5 to 16. Dad is a hard worker, but has employment prospects limited by his lack of English. Mom has virtually no English and is illiterate in any language. The family was initially relocated to the Dundalk area, but has now moved to the Cockeysville area, where Padonia International Elementary is doing a great job as a gateway resource. In particular, I want to report to you the incredible work done for the family by the Center for Family Success program located in Essex. The center provided ESL, English as a Second Language, and other services to Mom 4 days per week, picking her and her 2 youngest boys up and dropping them off at home each day. Please note that the provision of daycare services for the young children was critically important. Without those services, Mom simply could not have attended the ESL classes. As it is, Mom was able to proudly show my wife her printed name within just a few weeks of caring instruction and can recite the alphabet and her numbers in English. The CFFS director, Rebecca Kidd, is deservedly beloved by Mom, offering her, for the first time in her life, the possibility of literacy. Mom and Dad are now enrolled in ESL programs closer to home in Cockeysville Library and the Hunt Valley Church, but daycare for support for Mom is not available, a very serious deficiency. We need help for our new Americans to become full citizens of Baltimore County. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Michael Sapanik. I sit on the Baltimore County Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee representing Wade in District 3. And I'm also co-president of Strong Towns Baltimore. I reside in Cockeysville. And tonight I call on Baltimore County to please prioritize human scale development and the movement of people over cars. Let's return to development practices that were ubiquitous before World War II, with people at the center of the axis around which everything revolved, not automobiles. Please prioritize development that is human scale, pedestrian friendly, transit oriented, and mixed use. Make it easier and more comfortable to walk, roll, bike, and take transit on and around, particularly York Road. It's 2023 and Baltimore County has yet to build any protected on-road bicycle infrastructure. We need to relax parking minimums to give more room and respect to those who do not drive, either due to limited resources or choice. Please make it easier for residents and community associations to request traffic calming measures, especially on state roads. The state has funding and programs in place for road treatments, but the county needs to advocate for them on behalf of residents. Right now, the process for getting that to happen can best be described as Kafkaesque. Please foster an ecosystem of small-scale developers by allowing and incentivizing them to build more diverse homes of all shapes, sizes, and styles at higher densities that create a sense of place. Please allow homeowners to quickly build ADUs on their property and rent them out to anyone. Concerns about overcrowding should be addressed by building new schools, hiring more teachers, and modernizing our public infrastructure to support more residents. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, my name is Joyce Holbrook, and I wanted to express my support for the findings of a committee appointed by this administration to look at how Baltimore County can best support its agricultural industries, which are very diverse and very deep and very meaningful to our county economy, and derive benefit from them. And they're really broad. I mean, everything from wineries and breweries to commodity crops that are shipped around the world, even to replace some of the crops that are not coming out of the Ukraine right now, as well as organic farmers, and obviously livestock and the horse industry. It's nurseries, private and to the trade. It's really deep agricultural industries that are very meaningful. And the committee proposed following what Montgomery County has done in having an Office of Agriculture with a Director of Agriculture and also a liaison to interface with other county, not agencies, departments to coordinate. And that means 2 positions, and we already have a lot of groups at our Ag Center on Shawan Road, which include extension services through the University of Maryland. We have soil conservation services. We have groups like Future Harvest, which is going to be helping people start small farms there. They train beginning farmers. Many master gardeners. So I support that idea. I'd love to see that get rolling, and true professionals with deep knowledge and skills that can connect farmers with markets in innovative ways, work with tourism. There's just so many creative ideas that can come out of it. I also would endorse making the Ag Center a part of the Department of Agriculture. It has not made sense to me to have our Ag Center under the aegis of our Rec and Parks Department. It does not seem to be a good fit. I really heartily endorse what they have in Montgomery County, and I really hope that Baltimore County proceeds with those recommendations. Thank you. Thank you.
County Executive Olszewski, Councilman Catch, thank you for having us and listening to us. My name is Lena Amick. I'm a teacher at Parkville High School. I'm a social studies teacher, and I am here to advocate, love math teachers as well, here to advocate for our educators and everybody who's doing this work and the importance of paying our educators competitive salaries. all of the issues that you talked about. Our schools are in a crisis right now, and I really agree with you on needing to ask teachers why they're leaving, because so many teachers are leaving. And I can tell you as a teacher who talks to teachers who are leaving, they're leaving because the job is too overwhelming and they get better pay somewhere else. Those are the main reasons. And I really do think that competitive pay can be a solution to both of those issues. Because as you said, it's not just pay, right? It's also working conditions. But working conditions are alleviated by more expert staff who are going to come and stay and invest in the kids. As a teacher, I learn so much from my coworkers. If I have a turnover of coworkers and every 5 years I look around my department and it's a whole new group of people, that's a bunch of new people who need to be trained. I think a lot of us in the county would be uncomfortable with having a cadre of completely new teachers teaching our students every year. And then by the time I'm in high school, they get to a higher level. They have nobody to write their letters of recommendation. They have nobody who's seen them grow. They have nobody to implement those initiatives. So we're really interested in recruitment and retention, and hope that there is, in this robust education budget that you have, that there's really huge investment in our educators and their salaries. And that includes counselors, social workers, and especially our paraeducators who often have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. We want them to really have a career path where they can stay, because they're so critical in our classrooms. So thank you so much.
My name's Tim Rupault, and I live in Lutherville. And I'm going to go back to your first significant achievement, which I consider the most meaningful achievement you've had since in office. And that was appointing and creating an Inspector General's office and appointing Kelly Madigan to that office, a competent and thorough person. I expect that we should fully fund that office as it goes forward and support it. My other 2 questions that I have are, one, electrical vehicle charging stations. Our county has no zoning for these, and developers are in heaven. They can put any charging station anywhere in Baltimore County right now. We know that Peter Gutwall's team is working on this, and we expect the county legislative group to really support good and meaningful application of electrical vehicle charging stations. Relative to the budget, I would add more inspectors. The poor chief inspector for PAI is overwhelmed. I've talked to him, he's underwater. The second issue I've got to talk about is, most of you probably don't know what a limited exemption is, but limited exemptions have been done hundreds of times, and they keep your community from being involved in the development process. Now, Wade and the county council put a bill in, 5122, last July, which was passed unanimously, which started the process of at least notifying the communities of developments and also allowing them to be in an open meeting forum. We believe the second part of this is changing the code from vague and imprecise numbers and words like minor development, that the developers use to bypass community involvement. So thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski and Councilman Catch. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Anna Lincoln Whitehurst. I'm a resident of Cockeysville, but I'm here this evening on behalf of Irvine Nature Center in Owings Mills, where I am the Director of Development. Irvine is embarking on an exciting renovation and expansion capital project to better serve the needs of residents in Baltimore County. Our Cultivating Community campaign is a $6.3 million initiative that purposely coincides with our 50th anniversary in 2025 to ensure Irvine continues to be a strong educational resource for generations to come for citizens of Baltimore County. We have requested $250,000 from Baltimore County's capital budget to support this effort. To date, we have raised $2.5 million from local foundations, the state of Maryland, trustees, and other individual donors. Irvine provides robust environmental education programs for thousands of visitors, Baltimore County residents, on our 211 acres, and also in the community for people who can't come out to Irvine, specifically after-school programs. I heard that tonight. That's something that we do and love to do. This campaign will support the renovation of our exhibit hall and the construction of a new state-of-the-art
8,500 square foot green building adjacent to our main center. The new building will also provide a new home for Irvine Nature's preschool, including an additional classroom, and we've just recently started a tuition assistance program for the Nature Preschool, as well as a year-round space for additional youth programming and special events. We appreciate your consideration of our request and are greatly appreciative of all the support Baltimore County has given Irvine Nature Center over the years. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Hey, good evening. I'm Patrick Smith. I'm the Vice President of the Delaney Valley Improvement Association. We represent roughly 600 families in the Delaney Valley area. And I'm going to expand a little bit on the electric vehicles and charging issues that are currently present. But as many of you probably know, our Governor, Wes Moore, this week enacted legislation or proposed legislation that will, by 2035, eliminate the sales of gas vehicles in our state of Maryland. So what that does is, that pushes us into the future. Inevitably, there's some replacement for gas vehicles. Whether that's a time, I can't say. But effectively, what it does is, with these charging stations, it turns them into a traditional gas station. So rather than having, 8 gas pumps, 10 gas pumps at a gas station, now we'll have a pack of between 8 to 12 to 24 of these superchargers, effectively creating a automotive service station, a fueling station. So zoning as of right now doesn't address that issue at all. And in our neighborhood, there's actually Royal Farms coming in. They'd like to put in 12 superchargers that'll draw enough current to run 1,200 homes simultaneously with these 12 superchargers running. So electrical infrastructure. We don't want to turn into California with rolling brownouts and blackouts. Electric vehicles are great. If you've ever driven one, it has instantaneous acceleration. You can burn the tires off very easily. A lot of fun to drive. Very good for the environment, though, right? But the thing is that we need to, as a county, move forward to study and promote legislation and some sort of regulation around these supercharging facilities. Otherwise, we could, I could open up a gas station with 12 superchargers in my front yard. Where do we draw the line? So I just think we need to get ahead of that before that really becomes a much larger issue. Thank you for your time tonight.
Good evening. Thank you. My name's Jim Martin, and I live in Parkton. I'm past president of the Gunpowder Valley Conservancy, and I'm here tonight in favor of additional sustained funding for land preservation and increased open space. I want to thank the county executive and the county council for the recent reinstatement of both the county rural legacy program and the county ag preservation program. I also want to thank the county executive and the county council for their contributions to the Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance, BCLTA, and ask your continued support of that organization. Land preservation is a very unique partnership that between the county, the land preservation organizations, and those landowners and farmers that want to preserve their land in perpetuity. It's been extremely effective. You've been a strong supporter of that. We thank you for that. We want to continue that support, and we want to continue for Baltimore County to be a leader in that area. Land preservation does several things that people need to know about it. It provides open space for recreation. It provides space for local, fresh foods. It provides clean air. It helps clean our water. It provides wildlife habitat, and it protects our forests. Our ask is to continue to fund the Rural Legacy Program and the Ag Preservation Programs by committing sustainable funding to those programs. We continue funding of the local land trust so that we can work with the county to achieve the goals of the master plan. And we'd also like to ask for you to work to help us achieve office space at the Ag Center for the BCLTA. So thank you.
And I think we're going to try to be as rapid fire as we can so that everyone has their stuff on record tonight.
I'm with the Conflict Resolution Center of Baltimore County, and we've submitted a written proposal to seek county funding since 52% of our referrals come directly from county agencies. So please take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll try to go fast. My name is Henry Cook. I'm from the Timonium area. I'm here to advocate for smart development. Glad to hear all the land preservation folks here. Glad to preserve and create productive agricultural land in the county, prevent overdevelopment of single-family exurban homes that are difficult to support with our infrastructure dollars. The other thing I'd like to speak on quickly is bike and pedestrian infrastructure for safety, for reasons of that nature. We're falling behind our other counties in the region. Anne Arundel is on their way to building out their county's mixed-use trails program. We can't even complete our bike ped master plan in a timely manner because we didn't resource the group fast enough. Resource the group, the agency to be able to incorporate all the public comments. They have to come back for more money. For safety, for folks that don't have a car, to give them an option besides cars to get around. And then finally, I'm going to jump one more topic quickly, is keep up building Delaney Valley High, new Delaney Valley High. I've got 3 children. I'd like to see them in the new school by the time it gets there. Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman and Wade. Thank you for hearing me. I am Patty Enzer, and I live at 14210 Manor Road in Phoenix. And my problem is that we just found out we had high chlorides in our water. And they're suggesting that it is caused by road salts. And they're saying that we will have to have a full RO system put in our home, which will amount to about $25,000 plus the drain field that the county requires now. And our property is right on the corner of Sweet Air and Manor Road. And so we get a lot of brining and we get a lot of salt. And I was wondering if you have any programs and if you can get in touch with me about what we can do about this, because it's no fault of our own. And we'd like to hear from you. Thank you so much.
We'll send it.
Pardon?
Okay,
thank you.
Hi, my name's Bobby Prigo. My family has a dairy farm in Long Green. Would ask for your support for the establishment of the Office of Agriculture and put under one roof at the Ag Center. Out of the over 70,000 acres of land preserved, what better use than to grow food for the people of Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and surrounding areas. Would ask for your support in any ways that could be established through grants or whatever, and to get the food to people that can't necessarily afford that high quality, nutrient-dense food, especially dairy, meat, and eggs.
Hello, my name is Bob Ridgely. I'm a resident of Baltimore County since 1963, and I live on Wagon Wheel Court. I've been there since 1986. We do have a pavement issue, and I know everybody's aware of it. It seems as if the Bureau of Highways doesn't have any knowledge of when our road was built, and or when it was repaved. It was repaved in 1990. I do remember going on a camping trip to Nova Scotia in early August of 1990. Saddam Hussein was invading Kuwait. That stuck in my head. Come back from that 2-week of camping, and the road was repaved. It was beautiful. But according to the standards, they're only built for 15 to 20 years. It's been about 33 years. It's in really poor condition, and some residents asked me to bring it to your attention again during this year. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Phyllis Joris. I'm a pretty happy 3rd District resident. I'm also the Executive Director of Neighbor Space of Baltimore County. We're a land trust that preserves land around Baltimore County inside the urban-rural demarcation line. There's plenty of other folks here speaking in favor of land preservation, so I just want to remind you of the fact that preserving land in urban communities requires a whole different set of skills, has its unique challenges, is very time and labor intensive, and so I just ask that you continue to support us and provide adequate funding for neighbor space. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Patrick, and I'm a Hereford Zone resident and president of the Hereford Rec Council. And I wanted to speak a little bit about the Belfast Road Field and Building Project, and appreciate the funding that we've already been allocated for this capital project. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming for the Hereford Zone. We spend as a rec council over $200,000 in field and indoor facility rentals right now. So we ask that, as you're already aware, you know how expensive these projects can be when it comes to building fields and to a building, which I know you're very familiar with the Sparrows Point projects that are going on right now. So what we are asking for is you can please consider additional funding so that we can also get that indoor facility going at our project, because we know it's going to be more than what's allocated. So I've talked about it with Bob on many occasions, and as you know, I know you're familiar with how much it costs, and we definitely need a little more to be able to take care of what we need to get done there. So appreciate your time and help.
Good evening. I'm Marcia McLaughlin, and I'm a resident of Lutherville. I'm also on the board of Neighbor Space in the Patapsco Heritage Greenway. I thank you for holding these town halls. The challenge is there are so many budget priorities, it's hard to sort through them. I'm here to make two pitches. Following up on Phyllis Joris, Neighbor Space is a land trust that works with communities who have less access to open space. And while we've gotten very good at going after grants and engaging citizens in the community to help with planting and maintenance issues, we do continue to need the county's support. So we hope that you will continue to think kindly towards Neighbor Space. The second is a broader issue related to environmental sustainability. For decades, we've all been struggling with how we meet the challenges of Chesapeake Bay restoration, and of course now climate change is looming above us, and they're both incredible challenges. Protections of streams, floodplains, wetlands, adjacent forests is also all incredibly important. These are challenges that are huge, and there's never enough funding, so I'm urging you to try and keep an eye on these, because climate change is not going to go away, and you could kick it down the road a year or another year or another year, but for the sake of our children and grandchildren, we need to get busy. Thank you.
How you doing? Everybody's bringing props. We're gonna these are for you for a second. Hi, my name is Salt Path. I have a handout also. Props and handouts, people. All right. I have a disc golf. You've heard disc golf stuff before, and it's always like, let's get disc golf, let's get disc golf. So here's a plan I wrote up. It's got a disc golf course, an 18-hole disc golf course at the County Home Park, already designed by Norm Eckstein, who designed Druid Hill Park, and Andrew Fish, who's a professional disc golf player on the tour. This is a designed course already, 18 holes ready to be put in. If you flip through the pages, there's a budget on the back. How many baskets we need, 18 baskets, how much that'll cost. How many tee pads we'll need, how much that'll cost. How many tee signs we need, how much that'll cost. It comes down to what it says on the end of the page. It's $16,000, around that, for an 18-hole disc golf course right here in the middle of Cockeysville at County Home Park. We're already going to be doing improvements to County Park. This is the time to get this park going at the pad, right up near the Alms House, right up around the time. This is what we got to go on. If I could, Mr. Could you please give us a cup? Give us a cup of
I'd like to start by thanking you so very much for the approval of a much-needed brand-new Delaney High School. Also, thank you for the turf at County Home Park. Thank you for Wade Koch, Friends of Delaney, and all who worked so hard on these projects. We now have the site plan that shows the new Delaney High School, the building relocated on the existing property, and the fact that the stadium will remain in its original location. So today I'm asking for your support, along with Baltimore County Rec and Parks, to begin the replacement of the Delaney Stadium and addition of a turf field as soon as possible. I would not want this request to delay the much-needed school building construction portion of the project, but to prepare for what is to come. It is wonderful that there's enough property to be able to keep the students in the existing building while the new structure is formed. However, this is going to take away 3 athletic fields from our JV and varsity teams in fall and spring. If we get to work on the solution now, the safe turf field that can handle the sheer volume of play, we can keep some of our students from having to drive and limit injuries that have been caused by the poor grass conditions that we currently have. LED field-focused lights on timers for the community would extend the time that the field can be used. I've reached out to the Delaney Sports Boosters, and they're willing to contribute. Senator Chris West also offered his support. We would love to see a timeline for the school building project. please consider fully funding the entire Delaney High School project, split the funds to begin quickly on a stadium with turf, support the Sweet Air project, and bring equity to current and future Delaney athletes. The surrounding community would love to see a little taste of what's to come in preparation for the new school and our area. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Good evening, County Secretary and Council Member. My name is Viviana Lozano, and I'm a part of the nonprofit organization called CASA. I don't know how much you knowledge have about the undocumented immigrant community suffering without any health care in this county. Even they pay taxes like any other American citizen in this county and the state, but they don't have the privilege to have or buy any health insurance because of the migration status. Without no health insurance or neither clinics to my community that allow us to be treated and many times not even be able to go to emergency room just because they have been denied service for not having health insurance. We just ask to be part of the budget in this county to find a solution. My undocumented community are be able to get health care, especially because they pay taxes like any other one. Thank you very much.
Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es María Brito.
Good evening, my name is Maria Brito.
Buenas noches al señor del contado y al señor concejal.
Good evening, County Executive and Councilman.
Solo quiero contarle un poco del transporte. Como migrante que soy, yo uso mucho el transporte, pero yo estoy viendo un mal servicio del transporte.
I'm here to speak about public transportation. As an immigrant that doesn't drive, I use public transportation quite often, and I can say that it is not being run effectively.
No es porque no queremos manejar, sino que es la necesidad nos obliga para usar buses y queremos pues de que como la comunidad que nos trate bien, no nos trate mal.
It's not that we don't want to drive, it's that the necessity makes us use public transport, and we don't want to be discriminated against when we're using public buses.
El año pasado estuvo cayendo nieve y yo me resbalé al subir al bus y no me dieron ayuda.
Last year, during one of the snowstorms, I got on a bus, I slipped, and nobody helped me on the bus.
Cuando yo fui al hospital y me dijeron que si tenía yo seguro médico, le dije que no y no me atendieron, entonces así ando yo como estoy ahorita hasta la fecha.
After the incident, I went to the hospital. The hospital asked if I had health insurance, and since I didn't, they refused to treat me, and due to that accident now, I have some health concerns.
Muchísimas gracias por escucharme y ojalá que nos den un buen servicio. Muchas gracias. Feliz noche.
Thank you so much for listening to us. All I ask is for equal services and good treatment. Have a good night. Thank you.
County Executive Olszewski, Wade Koch, thank you for allowing us to talk a little bit tonight. The reason I'm here is I would like to ask you to really give it as much consideration to creating a Department of Agriculture in Baltimore County and a director that will oversee all of the different units. Right now, there's a number of groupings with soil conservation and a number of the things. There should be a manager, a director that would be able to coordinate that. I want you to understand, Baltimore County agriculture is extremely efficient, and it's a wonderful agriculture. You have to, this is another thing, the crops that we grow, the grain crops, it's not like the Midwest where that corn is being used for ethanol or something like that. The corn crops and the grain crops here are going to the poultry industry and other industries where they're producing protein that's helping to feed the people in this area. So it's much different than what it is in the Midwest. Now there are some, we have created a market to sell some soybeans to help a lot of the farmers. They sell to one organization and they're boxed in cargo boxes, and then they're sent to the port and they're shipped overseas into Asia. And that's created an Asian market, and it's helped the farmers because it's created a market for their soybeans. But the farmers are productive. We had the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture here 2 weeks ago Tom Vesak and the Secretary of Agriculture from the United Republic, because they are honoring and they are impressed with our farming efficiencies and also how we're addressing the environmental concerns. And a lot of that is because of the Chesapeake Bay. But we are ahead of a lot of the other areas in this nation. We're ahead of the world in a lot of areas. We just need to have someone be able to bring us together with the Director of Agriculture and a Department of Agriculture. Thank you. And anytime you want to come and ride in a corn plant or a combine, you're welcome.
Executive Olszewski, Councilman Ketch. My name is Maura Karanja. I am a Kenyan-American math and SAT tutor here in Baltimore County. I'm here specifically to advocate for support for Juliana Valencia Banks and the Office of the Outreach Coordinator for Immigrant Affairs. Specifically, I would like to advocate for an African fellow for that office to deal with issues that are very specific to the community of the African diaspora. One specific thing that's come up in the last year, members of our community who have passed away and whose families have desired to repatriate their remains to their family homes in Africa have faced a logjam at the Baltimore County Department of Health. They need a signature from somebody in there who refuses to do so, causing an increase, prolonging the grieving that they're going through. This happened to a lady who I refer to as Social Karaoke, a wonderful lady who used to cook for me during my Bible studies when I was young. One call from your office and that document was signed that very day. That let our community know that there wasn't a physical issue, but that it was that someone important enough asking for it was all that was necessary. And I feel that an African fellow supporting Juliana would help bring those type of issues to the fore. Thank you very much.
Mi nombre es mi nombre es Eber Rivera, representando a la Liga de Fútbol de Cackville.
My name is Eva Rivera. I'm representing the Hispanic Soccer League of Cockeysville.
Le queríamos pedir que si en el presupuesto de este año nos pueden arreglar la cancha donde jugamos en Spar, en Hereford.
I would like to ask that you include in your budget proposal repairs and remediation for the park that we play in at Sparks in Hereford Zone.
La otra consulta que tenemos aquí es que este año queremos incluir a los niños para jugar soccer. Si nos pueden proveer un campo aquí en la zona de Cackville, nosotros vamos a proveer los técnicos, todo lo material, pero solo lo que necesitamos es un campo para entre medio de semana.
My second request is to have access to an additional soccer field. We have many youth that would like to play soccer. We just need a field here in the Cockeysville area where they can play. We will provide the technicians, we will provide the coaches, and all of the other materials. We just need an additional field for our youth to play soccer.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
For those of you who are left, I don't know if you have any parting words, Councilman, but thank you all for your persistence and your presence, overwhelmed by the turnout and by those who stayed throughout. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.